Hey IT students, I'm here to tell you that you don't need an internship to get experience. Now, it is true that when you're looking for your first job, your future employer is going to be looking for a CV that shows some experience. But the good news is that you only need a computer and an internet connection to get that. You don't need an internship. In this video, I'm going to tell you the story about how my personal websites were generating me a salary before I had even finished college. And more importantly, how you could do the same thing. The best case scenario, if you follow this plan, is that you're going to be making money online and you don't even have to look for a job. The worst case scenario is that you're going to build up a CV because you're going to be able to show to a future potential employer that you can take an idea and create a product or a service with it. Now, whether that succeeds or fails is not that important, but being that I myself am an employer, I really look to see that people can execute on projects. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because here at Zendebar IT Consultancy, we're getting more and more emails from young people that are looking for internship. And it's a really tough time to get an internship because most companies in this area are working from home due to COVID-19. So I sympathize with students that aren't able to get an internship. But again, the good news is you won't need an internship. Just follow this plan. In 2008, when I started my studies, I knew right off the bat that I wanted to work for myself. I didn't want to get employed. I studied in Gothenburg at the Chalmers University. And for those of you that don't know anything about Gothenburg, Volvo, the car company, and man, that does many other things as well, is an offshoot to another Gothenburg company called SKF. So naturally, the education that we got at Chalmers, it felt like a preparation to get into that big industry to work for a Volvo and SKF and so on. But for me personally, that wasn't that attractive. I didn't like the idea of being a small cog in a huge ecosystem. I wanted to create something that was much smaller, where I felt that like I had creative control of what I was going to build. So as soon as I started uni, I started creating my own websites on the side. That kind of became my focus because I knew that I had this goal to create websites that would draw people. And when those people would visit my website, they had to be in large volumes. And the idea was simply to put up ads, Google Adsense in my case. And every time somebody clicked on those ads, I would get some money off of that. So the idea was to generate a passive income from that. My first goal was that I would be making enough money to be able to pay for my lunch at college. And my final goal was that when I finished uni, I wouldn't have to get employed by the industry, but rather I would be making enough money from my websites so that I could just continue doing that. That was my goal. Here's the tough part though. For the first 2 years, I probably made a total of $200. But it was okay because I was getting better and better at programming. I was getting better in PHP, MySQL, search engine optimization, and so on. When I'd failed enough times, I started succeeding. And then it went really fast. So I went from $0 to $500 a month quite fast. And in the period of a year, it went to $5,000 a month. So I'd figured out a concept that worked for me, and then I started implementing it again and again. Now, since then, it's been up and down over the course of the years. But in a total, I've made well over $150,000 purely from Google Adsense. So what kind of websites were I making? So I'll tell you about my biggest success by far. My biggest success is that I saw a gap in the market for a service where you could enter a word and you could get examples for how to use that word in a sentence. So I built a website like that. And I figured students and whoever's doing writing is going to be able to get some benefit from a service like that. Now, obviously, I didn't write 100,000 sentences into a database. What I did was that I downloaded a bunch of Swedish ebooks in EPUB format. And then I wrote a script that traversed all those books and exploded the strings by the dots so I could get out all the sentences. And that way I filled out a database with all those sentences, and I had another table with all the words, and then I had a table in between connecting the two tables. Back then I used the MySQL table for this, but today, having the knowledge that I have right now, I would use Elasticsearch for this, but you work with the knowledge that you have, and that was the knowledge that I had at that time, and it worked just fine. When I created the service and put it out there, it was a hit right away, and I could see the traffic growing from day to day. And after a while, I had 5,000 people visiting the website every day just in Sweden. So I had already had a hit with this, and being that you have 5,000 people visiting your website, some of them are going to click on the ads, and every time they click on the ads, Google AdSense would send me some money for that. And then I came to think of a book that I read. It's called Nail It Then Scale It. And the idea is that when you find something that works, you need to start thinking about how you can do the same thing on a larger scale. Now, being that this worked in Sweden, at a Swedish market, with 10 million people speaking Swedish, I figured what would happen if I did the same thing, but for the bigger languages. So if I did the same for the English, Spanish, German languages, and so on. And that's exactly what I did. And as expected, that was an even bigger hit. So that website, when it was at its peak, would have 100,000 visitors every day. Since I created the website, it's had over 50 million visitors. And even today, I haven't done any updates for years on the website. It has 50,000 people visiting it every day still now. Apart from being great for my personal economy, it's a fantastic feeling knowing that you had an idea and you stayed up late night, you were programming, you tried to take that idea and make it a reality, and you did, and the result was that you started affecting millions and millions of people all over the world. It's a crazy idea that 50 million times people all over the world had a problem, and my service was a solution to their problem. That's the power of the world that we live in today. You can see my AdSense account here showing income month by month, and I'm still making money. So in 2020, October, I made 1,400 euros from AdSense, and I haven't touched the website basically since 2016 when I started Zendev, the IT consultancy. That became my focus. But I'm still getting checks every month from Google for a website or a service that I created earlier. That's what they call passive income. Now, creating these types of websites requires a lot of understanding for SEO specifically, but also a lot of small intricacies when you're creating your websites. It's a small difference between when I was not making money for 2 years to when I really started making money. If you're interested in this type of content in general, please comment below. You can just write, tell me more. And if I see that there's enough interest, I'll make sure to make a longer expanded version of this video that's 30, 40 minutes to really get into the details of what I did. If you think that this content is interesting in general, please follow me on LinkedIn, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll be talking about IT, business, startups, SEO. If this is the kind of content that interests you in general, then I hope to see you guys there in the future.